All right. So, like Josh said, we got a handful of things on the agenda tonight, like what you guys probably saw already. Just to start out with.
Do you want to throw one thing in, Ross?
Yeah, go for it.
If it's all right. Hello, everybody. I'm on here so that I can kind of help you guys through this, make sure that we're covering stuff that needs to be covered, the reasons why you're doing some of the things you are. Also, if I have people, which I know I have one person on their honeymoon that can't be here with us tonight. If you're watching this later, you weren't actually with us tonight and you're watching this later, I do want you to email me and let me know that you watched it. So please do that. Thanks. Okay, Ross, you're up.
Awesome. Thanks, Callie. And Josh, did you have something to add? Oh, you're muted. There we go.
I want to make a quick note that there is a really cool little hand raiser thing to raise your hand up. So if you guys got questions throughout the presentation or throughout the webinar here, don't be afraid to click the little hand thing and raise your hand and ask a question, because I guarantee that if you have a question, there's somebody else on the webinar that has the same question. So don't be afraid to click that little hand thing.
Good call. Thanks for mentioning that. And Callie, you're free to barge in whenever. I gave you the go ahead on that earlier when we talked on the phone. So if you don't need to use the hand thing. Everybody else uses the hand thing. Callie, you're good to go.
Thank you. I apologized already because I definitely will do that. So
No, you're fine. So anyway, before we get into it, I think there are a few new ones on here. So I just wanted to show how you get into the admin side. So if you don't know, there's a few different ways. So tonight we're going to be demoing through your favorite track, which is a profile that we've set up just for kind of test purposes. So like I said, to get to the admin side, there's a couple different ways. You'll log in up on the top right here. There's a My Profiles. Once you're logged in, that'll take you to the admin side. You can just browse to your profile. So you would just type in your track name, take you to your profile, and then click on the Edit Now button. If you have a website through us, there's a link at the bottom. So if you're right on the website, down at the bottom here, you can just jump into MyRacePass Management there, and it's going to take you to this dashboard. So when you first log in, the dashboard is going to kind of have some alerts, some just different things that need attention, kind of a summary of what's going on. But for tonight, we're going to be looking on the left-hand side here. This is kind of your different areas, different portals of the admin side. So we're going to jump into Season Management. So Season Management, we're going to cover these first 4 tabs on the left-hand side, I believe. The Overview tab, again, is just kind of a summary of what's going on, any upcoming events or recent events that you need to jump into. As far as the events go, we're not going to get into like the actual race night, but I do want to show you how to set up your classes and putting in some of the event info and things like that. So to get started, before you can do that, we need to go to this Config tab. So the Config tab has kind of it's like a one-time per year setup. Excuse me. You'll add in, obviously your track will be in there already, and then you'll just add in any series that are going to be racing with you. The series is kind of nice because when you add those, like we're going to go in here and we're just going to search for all series. So if you go to more series and go all, what's nice about that is if you put in, say, WISSOTA Challenge Series, if you're having them come to your racetrack, why doesn't that? There we go, WISSOTA Late Model Challenge Series. So if we click on that, you'll see it's going to prompt us with adding this late model class, which we do have actually linked up already here. So the nice thing about that is if you go through the series process first, you're going to make sure you get the exact right classes that you need for that series when they come to your track. And then after you do get all your series added, just any additional classes that are going to be racing with you. So there's a variety of classes inside of MyRacePass. We've got anything you can imagine, it's out here. If there is something that you find that you're going to be running that we don't have, just get a hold of us. Easiest way, I think we probably touched on this, but support@myracepass.com. Just let us know what you want added, but certainly take a look first. So I'm just going to dive into like the modified class here, hit next, and you'll see again, then there's a variety of classes listed inside there for you guys. I think most of you, if not all, are WISSOTA sanctioned tracks. So you're going to try to find something that's got WISSOTA in front of it. So you'll see they're listed here. If it is a sanctioned class that you're adding, though, there's an easier way to get there. So instead of browsing to all classes, you can simply just go sanction classes and choose WISSOTA. That's going to narrow it right down to the classes that you're looking for. So for you guys, like I said, it's very important that you choose a WISSOTA class because we'll get into this more later, but that's what alerts Callie that you're looking to run a sanctioned class that evening. So the class name in the system will start with the WISSOTA moniker up front. So we're just going to add a couple of those: Hornets, Midwest Mods, Street Stocks. We'll add them into our config tab. That hasn't done anything so far with the events. I believe this probably found a bug. So if this does happen to you, I think this is because I'm on the test network. If these come up yellow, that means they're not actually linked up to your profile. You guys probably shouldn't have to deal with this. So I'll go show you how, if it does happen. Up on the top right here under Settings, Manage Classes. This is everything outside of your season. So back here in this last tab, we were inside of the 2022 season. If you do go to the Settings, Manage Classes, this will show you everything that you've ever had linked up or that you've used throughout, previous seasons. So to cure this issue that I've got going on here, we're just going to add this class as a global class here under the Sanctions, WISSOTA. And I think I had done Hornets. I'm just going to add them all actually, so they're all in there. And so those have been added. I'll jump back over to season management here again. I'm just going to refresh this. So you'll see that they're no longer yellow. So we've taken care of that issue by linking it up to the global profile, so to speak. So
Keep in mind that when you're adding your schedule, obviously you're going to have the WISSOTA classes. Some of you guys run pure stock. Some run an open Midwest Mod special. Some run the tri-state late models. That is not WISSOTA. You cannot use WISSOTA. You can't just decide that night that you're just going to use WISSOTA late models because you're having late models. You have to make sure that that is something different. Otherwise, it wants me to sanction it.
Yep, that's a good call. So to do that, like Callie's saying, if you need to add a different late model class, make sure you choose one that does not start with WISSOTA. So we would go here to late models, and we would just maybe choose like just a dirt late model. That's going to allow us to have a non-sanctioned event. So we'll add that in as well. Josh, did you have something to add?
All I wanted to say was, since you were in the Manage Classes tab, Ross, so this is there, getting there by under the season setup, there's the menu, and you click on Manage Classes.
Yep, on the top right here, Manage
On the
Classes.
top right here. And this will take you to here. So your classes are going to be listed here. You'll see some of the rename overrides that you got going on here. So there's MRP 360 Sprints, there's Pro Light. This is a good spot to, like, if you have a non-sanctioned class, whether maybe it's the just dirt late models, and you always have the tri-state late models come through twice a year or something like that. But I mean, you can rename them to the tri-state late models if you want to, or just keep them the dirt late models. This is also a spot as of right now where you could add a sponsor name to the class. So if it's the Acme Construction late models, you could put that in there if you wanted to. Just be prepared, because there is going to be a day that comes that we make you not allow you to do that, and we have you add the sponsor name somewhere else. But as of now, you can certainly take advantage of that if you'd like. I just wanted to mention that.
If they are running like the tri-state late models, they override the name, and then they get what does that do? If they name it the tri-state late models, then they see that in their system and everybody else sees it. They don't just see it as dirt, right?
Correct. They'll see it in their system, and then the fans and the stands and the drivers will see tri-state late models inside the app. It'll be listed as that. Yep.
Okay.
Sorry, Rob.
Something to think about for your fans.
Yep.
Just to touch on that again, just to make sure that you do have the right class. So just by putting that, say you did put tri-state late models in here, I'm on a Hornet class obviously, but if I put tri-state late models, that won't satisfy. Just putting that name there in the name override, that's purely just cosmetic. That doesn't actually satisfy what needs to happen. So make sure that you do choose the correct class. So you would actually go here and add the series for tri-state late models. and that would then reveal what class they actually are. So whether they're a standard dirt late model, or if they're happen to be a super late model, whatever the case might be. Once you have their class added, then go find that class here, and if you want to, rename it, maybe it's in the system as TLMS or something, Tri-State TSLMS, whatever the case may be, you can go and put your name, what you want to call them there. So just make sure you're doing it on the correct class, because simply putting the name there won't actually do what you're looking to do. But anyhow, yeah, thanks for that. I appreciate that here. I kind of got off on a tangent since I had that little issue down here, but now we do have all of our classes added. Like I said, if it's going to be WISSOTA sanctioned, make sure you choose a WISSOTA class. If it's not, do the exact opposite. Make sure you're not using a WISSOTA class if it's not something that's going to be WISSOTA sanctioned. I think that's pretty much it here on the season page. I guess one thing I should mention, at the start of every season, before you get going, you're actually going to make a new season. So if up here it still says 2021, make sure that you go down in this drop down here and hit new season. That's going to create a new year for you. So we don't actually, we're not, doing away with or getting rid of the old stuff. We're making new stuff on top of it so that everything's kind of archived for you nicely under a season here. So if you do find,
I would imagine that's pretty important. Are you overwriting things if you don't do that?
yeah, I mean, it not necessarily overriding, but you're going to have a little bit of a mess. You want to make sure you're on a 2022 season to start out the year. If you do get in a situation there again, let us know. We can help you through it. But yeah, I should have mentioned that right up front. But yeah, certainly make sure that always on the top left you're on the correct year. So, and then obviously when next year rolls around, do the same thing again. Josh.
I just have one thing to mention, and I apologize for not saying this. But under the series, so when you guys have a traveling series come through town, it's very, very important that the racetrack, which is most of you, if not all of you, have the correct class for that series. So just to give a little example, Boot Hill Speedway, I think it was, down in, I don't know where they're at, Arkansas or something like that. There was just this last weekend, the Comp Cam Super Dirt Late Model Series came to town, and the racetrack, so the track has precedence on how the MyRacePass app works and the websites and all that kind of stuff. The racetrack that's the brick and mortar. So you got to have that class correct on there. So like say if one of you have the NOSA Sprint Tour come through or whatever, you got to have the 410 wing sprint class in there. If it's not in there, what happens is Comp Cams, for example, down there this last weekend, they use MyRacePass. Boot Hill Speedway uses MyRacePass, but Boot Hill didn't have the Comp Cams class in this config tab right here where Ross is showing you. What happened there is all the racers, all the fans, they couldn't see the Comp Cams class in the app because the racetrack did not have that active. So one thing that we always try to tell travel in series is, reach out to the racetrack prior to a race and make sure that if they use MyRacePass, to make sure that racetrack has that class added to that particular event that night. Now, a lot of you are going to have a WISSOTA Challenge Series event. That's perfect because that's just a WISSOTA late model class. There's nothing special that you have to worry about there. That is something to keep in mind if you have a travel-in series, whether it's a USMTS modifieds coming through, or if it's ASC at Sprint Cars or World Outlaw Sprint Cars or Lucas Dirt. Just make sure you have the correct class in there set up for them. That's all.
Yep, absolutely. So I think that is pretty much all I wanted to cover here on the config tab. Like I said, hopefully it's just something that you have to do once a year. If you get this set up kind of to cover your whole season, it's going to make the rest of the steps here even easier. So we're going to skip over the registrations for now and come back to those. I'm going to jump to the events tab. So the events tab is where you're going to organize different schedules. The schedule is just a collection of events that are somehow related to each other, whether it be for points purposes or if you got like a special going on and you want to have like a 3-day schedule or something like that. So that just allows you to organize your events that you want to, and like I said, either accumulate points or what have you. So we're going to actually add a new schedule for, just going to call this WISSOTA webinar schedule. Click on add schedule, type a name in there. You can just accept these defaults down here. Have the schedule be active. If it's something you are working on, you can always deactivate that, but by doing that, you got to remember to come back in and activate it. We'll look at that in a second. You can put a description in there if you want to remind yourself what it's for or let people know what this schedule entails. Once you're all set, just click add. So your schedule is going to show up out here. You can reorder these schedules. If you wanted that WISSOTA webinar schedule to be up at the top, just click on reorder schedules, drag that up to the top, hit save. So now our WISSOTA webinar schedule is up at the top. You can see we don't have any events yet. So we're going to go into these events. You can click on this view all events button or just click total events. It'll take you into the schedule itself. And we'll just go ahead and add a few events. What's nice about this, you click add events, it's going to open up a calendar. If you race on every Friday night starting in April, you just choose all the Fridays. Maybe you got first Friday in May is off, so just skip that one. I'm not going to actually add all these. I'm going to save some of that for later. We're just going to add a few events here in April. Obviously, if you had a special maybe on a Wednesday night or something, get all your dates set and just hit next, and it's going to take you through step by step. Our first one that we added was April 1st.
Keep in mind, just as a reminder, what don't we do? We do not put our test and tune in as a race. Please, please, please. If you're going to do test and tune, I don't know, tell them how to do it, I guess. I'm not exactly sure, but do not make test and tune a race. Any of them. If you only have one test and tune, or if you have 15, some tracks have them every week. Do not make it a race.
Is that for class purposes, Kelly?
Yes, because then it wants me to sanction it.
Right. So if you wanted to show a test and tune, like we talked about before, do not choose a WISSOTA class. It's not going to be a sanctioned event, so you're not going to choose a WISSOTA class. So let's say this was a test and tune. We're going to do it. Kelly told us not to do it. We'll do it the right way. So test and tune on the first. And it's actually just going to be Sport Compacts. Not going to be a WISSOTA Hornet because it's not going to be sanctioned. And then we'll choose, maybe we got sprint cars showing up as well. You put in the name of the event, a description. You can set your gate times here. If it's going to be the same, if you're doing the same thing every week, it's going to make it real simple.
Now, if you do it there, is that where you put it so that you can say all classes, test and tune, $50 to get in? You can tell them everything they need to know right there.
Yeah, exactly. You can fill out this description.
Spectators free, whatever.
Okay. $50 to get in. Yeah.
That will then show up on their schedule when someone clicks on that date.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very, very good tool, you guys. That you can do. Make sure your people know what time you're starting, what time the gates open. You can do all of that right there. And the people that do use it, like I can think of John Kimmis probably uses it, Nikki uses it. It's wonderful. You can tell the whole night somebody can tell exactly what you're doing by just clicking on that.
Exactly. So yeah, your name, description, and then fill out these gate times here. And then choose the classes that are racing for this event. Once you're all set, you just hit add and next. This is going to take us to the next one that we had chosen on the calendar. So it cleared out the name for us. And then you would just come up with a name for this event. Probably something a little more catchy. Maybe you get a sponsor for the night or something. That's a good place for it. And then this details here, you can use this for anything. So if it's a $2,000 to win, any other information that you want to pass along, this is exactly where you put that. Now that we're out of our test.
As Dino said, absolutely, you can put your draw cutoff there too. Yeah,
certainly. Yeah, any number of other things that we don't have spelled out here with the gate times. You could put any, say, what's another common one? I guess drivers meeting at 6:30. Oh, that's after house. We better go 5:30 on that. So, yeah, this is a great spot for that to communicate that message. Like I said, now that we're off test and tune, we're actually going to run some WISSOTA classes. Maybe we do still have Sport Compacts running, but we're going to add in WISSOTA Midwest mods and street stocks. Hit add in next. And this here's that Wednesday event that we selected.
Josh,
The one.
the people that put in, what did you say? What did you just say on there? What did
I
you
went
just say?
to the order of events and the event description.
Yeah. Now, do they go back in the night of and get rid of this and put the order in? Or what do they do there?
On the enter additional details about the event, that's kind of like the event description. Is that correct, Ross?
Yep.
So we're underneath the name where Ross has special number 1. The additional details about this event is the event description. So on the app or on the website or on the MyRacePass profile, that might even carry forward to the WISSOTA website. That's where a lot of tracks will put the event. There is a character limit, but it's pretty long. So a lot of tracks will put in their, draw cutoffs at 4:30, for whatever reason, or 6:30. Outlap started at 7. Then in the order of events is Sport Compacts, Midwest Mods, Street Stocks, and WISSOTA late models. And then the B features, this and that and the other thing. You can put all that as a list in the event description. That's very handy for the racers, very handy for the fans, and it's handy for yourself and the officials. The officials that use the app, they can look at it and see, oh yeah, that's right. Okay, B mods or Midwest mods are next. So
Yep.
that's a good tool to do that, and just to be as informative as you can. Just remember, there's what you guys are doing as scorers. The nice thing about MyRacePass is it's not just for the drivers. It's for the people sitting in the grandstands. It's for the people that couldn't make it to that event. It's for the family members that are watching from home. So, if you take a little extra time and just fill that information out, people.
You're the hero. Honestly, if you take that little bit of time and fill that out, you're the hero for the night. How many times have you been asked, so what's the order of events? Say, look at your app. Then you're done. You don't have to explain it 15 times or more. So take a little bit of extra time and fill those in.
And you can always go back and do this. So like when you're adding your schedule initially, you're not going to know all that information. That's
Right.
fine. You're going to know that you're going to have an idea what the classes are. If you're not the promoter of the event, I mean, I understand. I've been there. The promoter will tell you on Thursday that, oh, that's right, we're going to race Legends tonight too. And you're like, oh shit, okay, we got to get this going. You can always go back in and edit that stuff. So don't think that this is when you do it this first time in March that it's set for stone.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, this first run through here is basically just to get your dates on the calendar, and then I'll show you in a second here. This is the last one actually, so I'm going to go ahead and add this last one, and that's going to fill them in. So we added these 3 dates in April. Obviously, then if you did need to go back and make a change, just click on the one that you want to change. So this second one here, we'll just go into the event details for that one. And you can see there's the gate times that we filled out. Here's that description again. So you can edit this, if you want to have it be very promotional before the event and then the day of the event, if you want to switch it out to be the exact order of events or whatever you want to do there. This is any additional information that you want to convey, I guess. So that's kind of the event details up top here. We're not going to get into tickets tonight, but obviously once your event's on the schedule, you want to sell some tickets, so that's where you would do that. But I did want to touch on again these classes and series that are here. So we don't have any series right now. I'll show you what that looks like. If we decided that challenge series was going to show up, you just click on add series, put that on there. And you can see that class has not been added. So we're saying that this series is going to be here. We need to also include this WISSOTA late model class. So click continue and you'll see it added the class and the series name right here as well. So we have these 4 classes that are racing. Then if for whatever reason, by adding the late models, you had to drop the Midwest mods, you could uncheck this box. So that class is no longer active. If you're certain you're not going to run it, you might just delete it altogether. So just remove that from the event. I think that would probably be the preferred method for Callie, because then that's not going to alert her that you're trying to run a WISSOTA Midwest mod.
Yep.
So I just clicked on that. But yes, by having this WISSOTA class here, then what that does is that's going to alert Callie that she has an event on April 8th at your favorite track that wants to run a Midwest mod. Once she's accepted that, this little label over here that right now it says NA under sanction. Once Cali's accepted that, it's going to change to a green label that says WISSOTA. That means it's been reviewed by Cali and you're good to go. So
you guys need to check that.
right,
That if you go into something like this, like the week before, the week you're done, like say if you race on Friday, the Friday night that you're done, go into the next week before you leave that night. Look to see that it's a green box that says WISSOTA, right?
Exactly. Yep.
That lets you know that I have that race sanctioned. If you see this NA, something's wrong and I don't have it sanctioned. You could have added it later. Once you send your schedule to me and I put it all in, you cannot change it without letting me know. You can't add anything without letting me know. If, just so you guys know, if you get to the night of the race and it's time to draw and you don't have a class in yet and you haven't let me know, it's going to cause your promoter to have a $50 fine. That's only because the fine is because if that happens, it takes me a lot of time to get that back in. I have to go in and check that everybody has a license. There's a whole bunch of things that I have to do. So that's why the promoters voted to have a fine. If in fact you get to draw time the night of and you have forgotten to let me know that you are adding a class and it's not sanctioned. So always look at that.
Yep. And so up until, so back here, these are the ones that I just added here. You can see they're NA, so you can remove them if you need to. I did pull up a quick example Josh sent me here. Thank you, Josh. This is what it looks like after Cali's reviewed it. So I'm on actually Ogilvy's schedule for June 26th. You can see all these WISSOTA classes. All these labels over here are green and they say WISSOTA. That means she's good to go at Ogilvy for that event. Again, that's a per event basis. So you want to make sure and look through each date and make sure that it is as you'd expect. If it's a WISSOTA class over here, that means you did the right thing. If it's green over here, that means Cali has been notified about it. And like she said, don't wait until the day before. Try to do everything a week in advance if you can, just to make everybody's life a little easier. So
if you decide that night that you're going to run something or something just didn't work out right and you're getting rid of the mod 4s, go ahead and go in and just delete them. I don't have to know at that point that you're getting rid of something, but I have to know if you're adding something.
yeah, perfect.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. So again, to remove that, you just hit this little pencil edit icon over here and hit remove from event. That'll get rid of the class. Linda, did you have a question?
I do. Can we just delete it from the schedule here, or do we actually have to go back into the event like we used to have to and delete it from that event date also?
It depends on if you're trying to just delete it from a single event or not. I would certainly go in and review the event itself. So you'd back over here on your schedule, click into your schedule, and then go to the event that you want to remove it from. And we'll just get rid of Midwest mods here. Remove from event, delete, and you can see then that class has been removed.
It is also, they fixed it. It is also removed from the night. You used to have to get rid of it. Yep. You don't have to go back into the night and get rid of it anymore. They fixed that.
Thank you, Kelly.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, and then lastly down here then after the classes, this just shows you what schedules you've had it added to, and it will also show you any other schedules throughout the network that it's on. So I do still have Ogilvy open here. You can see Ogilvy is on the Ogilvy schedule as well as the WISSOTA schedule. Yeah, Josh.
Kathy had a question on here. Was the license thing added to their name like the 100 so we know that they have a license? The answer to that is yes. So the idea behind sanction management that MyRacePass developed for WISSOTA is when you add your schedule goes into a queue for Cali. So Cali goes through and approves all these events. And as long as that event is approved, when the driver shows up at the back gate and you either scan the card or you know the driver and you type in their name, it's going to say whether or not they're a licensed member. and that's where you do the whole temp license or license bypass. But we're going to get into that in a later, I think the next webinar on March 17th. But it gives you a warning.
Yep. Keep in mind, if you do not have it sanctioned for some reason, if you did make a change and I didn't get it, you will not be able to use bypass. You will not be able to use your track member thing. You will not be able to know if they're licensed. There's many, many things that will go wrong if you do not make sure that I have that sanctioned.
Yep, exactly. That's the key right there to that licensing, is making sure that it's tied to WISSOTA's sanction management. So without that tie, we don't know if they have a license. So that's why that's so important, and that's why we keep stressing that you must use a WISSOTA class. So
yeah,
I think with that, unless there's something else I'm missing here, I guess while we're here, I don't think this is really on the agenda, but we'll just round it out with these couple buttons down here at the bottom. Currently, obviously, this event, we just added it. It's running as scheduled. This would be where you postpone, rain out, cancel, whatever the case may be. If you click on that running as scheduled, you see it has these different statuses. Maybe it rained out. Maybe you just had to drop it. You would fill that out, check the box, hit confirm. The reason I want to point that out, I guess, is it's important. Once an event is created, it exists. It's out there. So you can't simply just get rid of the event. You need to say that it's been dropped. Once it's been dropped, then go ahead and actually remove it from your schedule.
The other reason you can't just let it hang is if you did drop it, or if it did rain out. If you let it hang out there, your promoter is getting charged for it. The minute you know that race is rained out, please go in and put it as rain out, so then I drop it from their invoicing. They are no longer getting charged for it. If I don't know any different, they allot it, and it does happen where they just pay off of what I send them. They don't pay any attention, and you not putting that as a rain out actually made them pay for a race they didn't run. So please be very, very, notice that very, very much. So.
Yeah, absolutely. As soon as you know, I mean, there's no sense in waiting. So just go ahead and mark it as rained out.
Yep.
With that, Scott had a question there, Kelly. Do you want them to use that same event if it's going to be ran in the next day or two, like they ran out on a Thursday or Friday and they're going to run it on a Friday or a Saturday? Just use that.
If you're going to make it, say you, if it's a complete new one, you'll just get rid of it. If you've gotten to intermission and you're going to finish it in the next couple weeks, you go in and finish this race before you start, as you start your new race. Absolutely. Finish, don't make a new one on the date you're racing it. Finish this and then start your night of.
Perfect. Chris?
Yeah, and one other thing to remember here, guys, too, is that not necessarily for WISSOTA classes, but also for touring series as well that use MyRacePass. If the event rains out, that rain out thing is very important because the series can't control that. The event status, if you guys rain out, but it's not marked that way after 2 or 3 days, the series, and sometimes they like to call us and ask, hey, my schedule update. You guys control that, so the series wants that controlled as well too, to show on their own schedule it's rained out. So just kind of the importance of, the minute you guys rain out, just go in, change the status, or do what you need to do as soon as possible. That way it's all behind you and it's all taken care of up front.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Jack.
The other thing I want to mention real quick is if race fans and drivers favorite your profile in the MyRacePass app, when you rain out an event or cancel an event and have a description of why it happened, the little message that's right there underneath the Ross's mouse, I think there's about a 10-minute delay, so you can have an oh crap moment and undo it. But after about 10 minutes, a push notification will go out to the race fans and the race drivers on their phone saying, hey, this event has been canceled, this event has been rained out, or this event has been whatever the reason is. So that's another very good tool to keep in mind of.
Yeah, absolutely. Last 2 things down here then real quick. If you had this event set up and you've already gone through your other add event process and you just need to copy this one event, there is a quick copy down here that'll copy the classes, the details, things like that. It's just a real easy way to take this event and make a new one. That's purely from a scheduling standpoint. It doesn't do anything with the race night itself as far as entries or anything. It's just the event details. So there's that copy button. And the last one here is just a quick click that. It'll take you right into race management. So it's an easy way to jump to this particular date. The race management tab itself always kind of defaults to what the next upcoming date is. So if you need to get to a specific date, it's usually easiest just to go in through your events, browse to the event, and click on race management. Last thing then real quick, on this, back on the events tab here, that has all of your schedules listed. This is where you would go to edit your schedule. So like we said, if we wanted to change the name of the schedule, this is the season it's a part of, the year it's a part of, and then the name, the description. This would be if you did happen to add it to the 2021 season and it's actually your 2022 schedule. This is where you come in here and move it to a different season. There are some other things available here inside of the schedule itself. You can put downloads in here. So one thing that's kind of nice, if you got a nice flyer printed up or something and you want to make that available to other people, you can add that as a PDF. If there's any other sort of large format material that you want to pass along that isn't just, it's not great on the web or it's not displayed anywhere, you can always add multiple PDFs here that are available for download with your schedule. And then the last thing, this advanced championship calculation. I'm not aware that you guys will be needing that, but if for some reason you are doing any, I guess, complicated point calculations beyond what the system allows, there are some other features available there as well that will allow you to combine classes or apply different rule sets based on, whether you're, this would probably be for non-WISSOTA sanctioned stuff. So if it's outside of WISSOTA and you have a championship for just, maybe you're allowing them to just use their best 10 events or something, that's where you would go for that. So if you do have questions on that, it's a newer feature. We've maybe had it for a year or two now, but it's something that a lot of people maybe aren't aware of or don't utilize. So that is available there. Josh?
A common question we get is, why do we need multiple schedules? I thought it might be beneficial if you mention, so don't think of your schedule in MyRacePass as like the schedule that's on a poster at the gas station. Like Ross mentioned earlier, the schedule is just a grouping of events that you might use special point standings for, or whatever other reason. We deal with multiple schedules all the time with different tracks and different race series. A good example of this is maybe if you had a 3-day race week where you want to have a special points fund at the end of it, or you put 3 events, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, into one schedule. It's just a grouping of those 3 events, to where then the points added at the end of the night. You can still apply the WISSOTA points for Cali and for the sanction body, but then if you have a special thing for the end of that night or that last Saturday night, you can have points for just those 3 events. So that's the idea behind giving you the ability to add multiple schedules. Is it gives you the opportunity to do different things like that. Ross might have another piece to add there, but that's a real common question we get is, why do we need more than one schedule?
Yeah, and it's not that you do, but the option is there. So if you do need to break things out further, it's possible that you may only have one, but if you have the need for more than one, you would just add that schedule, put the events into that schedule that belong together, and you should be set. But last thing here, I glossed over this on the way in, but I'm glad Josh reminded me of this. This next event link here, this is super handy. So this is sort of a magic link that you can put out there on Facebook or what have you. It'll take you or anyone that clicks on it to that event profile right on the MyRacePass website. It'll open up the app if they're on their phone. So this /today, whatever the event may be, this isn't associated to any particular event. It's just showing what the next upcoming event is. So there's that link that can be posted, and then there's also an associated QR code here if you need to print it on something or if you want to throw it on social media or what have you. It's just a really slick way for them to be able to get lineups, entries, anything related to that next event that's upcoming. So should probably make that stand out more. That's really cool. I'm glad you pointed that out, Josh. I glossed over that. So, Chris?
Yeah, just to add to that, I've really encouraged a lot of racetracks to add that link to every event they make for a race on Facebook. Add it to everything social media. It's always going to be beneficial that way. It goes right to the exact next event there. It's going to be really handy for everyone to use theirs. And that QR code, they're kind of coming back with COVID and everything. If you go to restaurants and all that, you have to use QR codes now. And they kind of made a comeback here. So those QR codes are going to be very beneficial to add to posters, for your schedule, to everything. It leads right to your track. If you guys use online ticketing, it's going to be beneficial there as well too, to really use that QR code to your benefit.
I will add also, it makes you guys look like you're a genius because things are happening. People are seeing your stuff. I would imagine your promoter would be very happy with you if things like this are going out all the time, and all it is just a click of a button. You're gonna look like you are a master of MyRacePass.
Thanks for that. Oh, anyway, so that pretty much covers the events. As far as schedules, events, any other questions there before I move on? We're good.
Don't be afraid to ask a question. Like, if you got a question, somebody else has got the same one.
Where can I get email addresses for everyone? Can you expand on that a little bit, Scott? I'm not quite sure how to answer that, to be honest.
It's probably asking where you can get email addresses from the drivers, and that's probably from a registration point of view.
Yeah,
Oh,
Cameron and yourself.
I do want to mention this when it comes to questions on MyRacePass. So we have there's 4 of us on board right now. We got Chris, who was talking earlier. He's been with us for almost 5 years. Dakota, who is new. Ross and I are partners in the company, and we started this our 14th year in business. Support at MyRacePass.com is the #1 best way to get a hold of us. Just because there's 9 people that get that email. So just support at MyRacePass.com is the best way to contact us if you got questions or problems. Also, I'm going to say this now, even though Ross is going to say it at the end, MRPhelp.com. That'll give you some insight on different things. You can go to MRPhelp.com and search for the problem you might be having. We also have a promoter support group, which now that I mentioned that, I'm going to add that into this message. Please add yourself or join the Facebook promoter support group. What that is, it's a group of a bunch of different promoters and scorers, throughout MyRacePass. We just started that not that long ago. And you can ask questions on there, and there are other scorers and promoters across the country that use MRP that can help answer your questions. We've seen that be really beneficial over time.
I've seen it used on race night also. If someone gets into something happens and they don't know how to get out of it, they will use that Facebook group to try and get some answers and get some help. So if something like that happens on a night and you need help, don't be afraid to get on there and ask a question.
Absolutely. Chris, you have something to add there?
Yeah, with that too. Don't forget we have a YouTube channel as well. MyRacePass.com/YouTube has tutorials on there. And with that promoter group as well, just kind of a heads up, we do want to keep that strictly to promoters, scorers, and the owners. We've had some like corner flag guys and all that, which don't really use MyRacePass. We want to keep that just for that. And also too, we get a lot of like event posters coming up, like, hey, come check out our event here. We love promoting your events. It's awesome. But for that group, we want to keep it strictly to questions about MyRacePass and that we can answer, but also that you guys can answer among yourselves. We want you guys to interact with each other.
Absolutely. All right. So moving on. I skipped over the registration, so we'll go back over there now. Registration is super handy for getting your list of drivers populated before race day. So for those that have done it, the back gate gets a little wild on race day, especially early on in the season. So the best way to prevent that and prepare is to put a registration out there. This is included in your MRP subscription, so there's really no reason to not use it. It's also a nice tool for if you want to allow them to prepay you can charge obviously for these registrations. So I'll just jump into one here. You can see we already have this yearly registration set up. So notice when we go to add a registration, you can't have multiple yearly registrations. You get one of those. That's what basically provides you with a clear and concise list of everyone that's raced throughout that season. So you get one yearly registration that's going to be put out there. The other three registration types, you have an event registration. This is tied to a specific event. A general registration. This is not going to take in any competitor information, no information about the driver. This one's good for if you have like a car show or banquets or any sort of thing it's a non-racing related registration. I should probably move that one to the bottom, actually. That would make more sense because this miscellaneous competitor one is actually a lot like the event registration. It just allows you to set a date range, so it's not a single event. This event registration is a single event that they're registering for. The miscellaneous competitor registration acts just like that, except it allows you to span multiple dates. So if you're having a 2 or 3 day race weekend, you probably want to set up this miscellaneous competitor registration. I'm going to just jump into, we'll just do an event registration and click next. It's going to ask you for a date. So I believe we set up the 10th. I forget. Was that the date that we used? No, the 1st. 4/1/2022. You'll see there's our test and tune. We just give it a title, test and tune registration. Again, you can charge an entry fee. If you want to charge more after the date has passed for the close date, if you want to charge more after your late fee date, here's the late fee that you could charge. So say we're going to charge $20 if they do it on time, and then after March 27th, it's actually going to be an extra $5. We'll have this open up today, and it's going to close on the 1st at midnight. Just go ahead and click add. It's pretty straightforward stuff there. It's going to take you into the details then, show you exactly what you just added. The registration at this time is not active. We don't just throw these out there. We want you to have a good, solid chance to review it. And even if we were to make this active, you'll notice up at the top, we had 2 warnings. One saying that it was not active. We also have a second warning up here that this registration requires payment. So since we put a $20 charge on there, we need a way to take payment. Our registrations are handled through PayPal. So if you guys were looking to do a registration via PayPal or charge for your registration, get a hold of us. There's a form to download. I think Josh helped me out here. It's on myracepass.com/toolbox. Is that right?
I just put it in the chat window.
Oh, perfect. There we go. There's that form. Fill out that form completely with where you want the PayPal funds to go, any other information in that form, and return that to us. Once we have that set up, you'll be able then to activate your registration because we don't want to put that out there before we know where the money's going. Josh.
That's very important. So if you have a change of ownership in your racetrack, and I know there's some scores that have been around for a long time, and been at the same racetrack, or there might have been a change of ownership from one year to the next. That's on you guys. We can't control that. So when the registration is set up, you want to double check. Even if you got to ask us, hey, what's the email address we use for PayPal, or what's the account that we use for PayPal? Once the money once registration is active, there's not much we can do about that. So you want to make sure you know where the money's going, to be very blunt about it. So that's why there's that link for that PayPal request form on there. We have that. Just fill that out and get it back to us, and we get things set up for you. And Brenda asked a question that's only available in U.S. dollars, can't be in Canadian dollars. With PayPal, I am honestly not for sure on that, Brenda. I need to look into that. I think if you use a PayPal account, and if you have a Canadian-based account with PayPal, with your bank account based in Canada, we're sending all we are doing on the side of MyRacePass is sending the customer, which is the driver, to PayPal to make the transaction. From there, it's on PayPal, right? So I think in Canadian dollars, via PayPal, you'd be fine because you are the one setting up a Canadian PayPal account. So I think with PayPal you're going to be okay, because all we do is we send the dollar amount to the PayPal account, and so we might want to do some testing with that. But that's an interesting question that you asked, Brenda, and I am going to do some more looking into that, and maybe before the next webinar we can answer some of those questions. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, thank you, Brenda. All right, so yeah, if you need to change any of those dates, change the name of the registration, anything like that before you make it active, this would be the place to do it. The classes section down here is going to show you the classes that you've chosen for that date. So remember when we added the event, we had these classes that were added. If you need to go add an additional class, you would jump back over to your events, go into that date, and add additional classes there. If your registration was just for the sport compacts, just deactivate the 410s. That'll keep them. The 410s are still on your event, but they're just not going to be a part of this registration. So you have your active class here, and you can actually, it's not going to make sense unless I have 2 active, so I'm going to activate that one again. You'll see we have a base fee of $20. You can charge an additional if you need to charge an extra $10 for the sprint cars. You just put a $10 down there, and then when they go to register, if that's the class that they choose, they're going to get charged this amount plus this amount here, and maybe an extra $2 if they're late. Overcomplicating it. I don't think you have to take it that far, but the option is there if you decide to do that. Once you have that all set, click save, and then you would be ready to activate it. Once it's active, click save again. We are still waiting on payment to be set up for this one, but once everything was good to go, this is the public link that you would go to. We click on that. There's another one out here that is active. Looks like there is. This is, I'm not gonna take you through the whole driver process. It's pretty straightforward. It's basically a digital version of the paper form that they would otherwise fill out. So this isn't the, well, actually it is, since I'm the creator of it. This is our test and tune registration. Here's the 410s. We had put that at $30 as our 20 plus 10. And then if they've ever filled out a registration before, it makes it super slick. You can just choose a competitor, and then I can choose a previous registration that I filled out, and it's going to actually pre-fill the whole thing for me. So I'll just give you a real quick look at what that looks like. And yeah, from there, the driver submits it. We can go back in here to our registrations, and they would come in. So I'm going to jump back to the registrations tab then, and you would see them show up. And here you can see there's one. Actually, that's not the one we did. We did the test and tune. And so there's nothing pending or confirmed there, but was there a question, or was that somebody that popped in? Is registration available through the app for drivers? Registration is not available through the app. This is on the web only. So like I said, this link that you would send out inside of the registration, that's going to take them to the desktop version of the registration. We do not have that in the app at this time. Not sure if that's something we would or not, but it's just, it's a lot to handle on your phone. I mean, it can be done, but especially in the app, it would just, I worry about the complexity of that. So, Josh or Chris, go ahead.
I'm going to go first. Sorry, Chris.
We have rules.
reason why we don't have it in the app, Linda, is we got to remember with the app, it's not just the drivers that are using that. There are thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people in the app. We don't want some random fan going in trying to fill out a registration. We do understand. I've been in your shoes. We do understand that'd be nice to have the registration inside MyRacePass app. And one of the reasons why we haven't yet is mainly because there's race fans involved. We don't want them to fill out a registration thinking it's a ticket sale or something like that. But that's also another reason why it's very important that you're slowly training your drivers to claim their profile on MyRacePass. They can search for the name on MyRacePass.com and claim their profile, because there are things that we are going to be able to do, not today, but there are things that we are going to be able to do inside the app based on, because if they log into the app and we know that they're a driver because they claim their profile, there are things that we can do communication-wise for either registration or push notifications or things like that. So claiming their profile is very, very important. There's a lot of WISSOTA drivers that already have done that, but that's just something to keep in mind. And that is the reason why we don't have registration in the app, is because you just got to remember there's way more people than the 80 to 150 drivers you have at your facility that are using that, and we don't want the wrong person clicking on it and getting somewhere. But the new registration platform that we launched, is it 2 years now, Ross? This will be the third season.
Yeah, I think we're going on the start of our third season with it. Yeah.
The third season now. We literally had just a little over 60,000 drivers use online registration just last year alone, and it's a very, very nice mobile. I mean, the mobile version of it is very, very handy, and if a driver claims their profile, they can literally register for an event in a matter of about 4 clicks. So it's really cool. If you look back on the registration that Ross had pulled up, you've seen his name was there. That's because he was logged in and under his profile. You can click his name, all of his information saves. Whether I register at Ogilvy Raceway and then want to go register at I-94, to my account, my address information saves, and I can take that and just register with the event. I can pick a previous registration like what Ross is showing here, and it has all my information, and I can just register. So that's why claiming your profile is important. But I wanted to make sure I answered that question because we get that question a lot. How come we don't have registration in the MyRacePass app? Just remember, it's more than just the drivers that are on the app. That's all I wanted to mention there.
Oh, that's good stuff. Chris, did you also have your hand up, or did that?
No, Josh kind of touched. I was going to mention it is mobile friendly, very helpful. I've helped a lot of drivers in line on the first day of racing at some places, in line, fill the form out in line, done, in and out. So the mobile version of it will please your drivers quite a bit because, as you know, a lot of them sure don't have computers. So pull their phone out, good to go, all set from there. You can share the registration link on Facebook. I usually, I kind of have encouraged some racetracks and promoters to pin the link in a post about it at the top of their Facebook page. And obviously, if you have a website through us, we'll go ahead and have a button on there on your website. If you don't have a website through us, talk to your web provider about having a registration button on there that links to that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Debbie, unfortunately, right now it is just Central Time. So when you put your times in there for the registration, just make sure you do choose an appropriate Central Time zone time that would correlate to Mountain Time. I apologize. I'm not sure if we hear that a lot, but that is noteworthy. So thanks for bringing that up. I guess I did gloss over down at the bottom here. There are downloads. This is also super handy with your registration. If you want to include a paper form, or if there's any other number of things, whether it be tax information, different forms that you want them to submit with their registration, go ahead and add it as a download, a PDF that they could print off and fill out. Our registration covers most everything, but inevitably there's other forms that you'd like them to complete. So this is the place for that. I did go and fill out a registration then, so we can look at that side of it. We had a registration for the test and tune under, I did the 410 winged. Just backing up here then, before I filled out this registration, there is, on the WISSOTA side of things, you'll see that there's, this is what their registration looks like. There is this disclaimer waiver up top here. Is there more there, Josh, that you wanted me to point out?
I just wanted you to show where they go to edit that text.
Oh, good call. So above the registration, so this is going to list out any registrations that you have open. This text up here, if there's additional information that you want to pass along to them, on the registrations tab here. On the top right again, where we want to manage our classes, there's also this registration messages up here. So this is where you're going to be able to go to put in this. As you can see on the WISSOTA side, there's this disclaimer information. It could be any number of things that you want to put up there. So here I have it on the admin side, this registrations area. You can put a welcome message in there. You choose one of these elements and just, yeah, you literally just click on add a paragraph, start typing away. That's going to show up. Otherwise, there's also a terms message here. And lastly is the thank you message. This is what they're going to see after they've completed the registration. So that would be a chance for you to reiterate, be sure to turn in your paperwork, thanks for completing your registration. Yeah, if they need to get a wristband, anything like that. So Yeah, I guess I'm glad you pointed that out, Josh. Is there anything else they should know about those messages?
That's just a really good spot to put any additional information that you might need. I mean, I know, depending on the racetrack, I mean, Ross is going to show you the on the registration printouts, the forms here before too long. But some racetracks, some accountants want an actual W-9 or what I-9 form, whatever that's called. You can have them print that off and ask them to fill it out prior to, which, 20% of your drivers will, 80% won't. But there's we run into issues, or not issues, but instances where racetracks have a medical form or different things like that. Right in here is a good place to put all that information. At least it's available for them to download and fill out or print off or whatever. Cassie, I want to mention this. Cassie just made a question. Would it be possible for an option for drivers registering they can select multiple tracks? We went down that path multiple times. There are some reasons, basically on the data, legal reasons why we haven't went down that road. It's nothing that affects us. It's more so affects you as the individuals. We are looking at individual racetracks. We are looking at ways to be able to accomplish that, where I'm Josh Holt from Webster, South Dakota. I can go in there and register for Ogilvy and I-94 and all the different racetracks. But there's reasons why we haven't done that yet. But at least if they claim their profile and have the MyRacePass account, it saves that information towards the account. So when they go from track to track to track to register, literally 4 or 5 clicks, they can get it done. So that's why it's important to claim your profile. But Cassie just answered that question. There are reasons why we haven't done that, just to protect you guys. But we are looking at ways to be able to make that happen.
Perfect. So then you got your registration out there. You put it on Facebook. The registrations start to come in. If we go to our test and tune registration here, here's the one that I did fill out, and you can see that it's pending. It'll show up yellow. That means that you haven't completed the process yet. There's some action you have to take here. So this registration's come in. You can see the invoice, whether or not they've paid for it. Once you have been able to confirm that they've given you everything that you need. So if you want to view that registration form before you confirm it, if you need to edit any number of things there, we're just going to take a look at the form where you can see, yep, looks like everything's been filled out, and we then confirm it. So the confirm process is basically assigning them a number and choosing an actual driver. So mine auto-filled my driver since my profile is claimed. Otherwise, what you do there, I should have maybe not done that so I can show it to you, but it's a type to search. You would basically just search for the driver. It's very important you select the right driver, obviously. If the hometown needs to be changed or something, we can update that. There's a process that we'll get into later on how to update a hometown, but you would just search for that driver. You're going to match the registration to an actual driver in the system, and then assign them a number based off of what they submitted on the form. So they 4V is their first option. We put that in there. There's a couple check boxes here if you want to allow duplicate car numbers. So we basically bypass if somebody's already taken the 4B, we would allow that to happen. And then this has all forms checkbox. There's reporting later on. So we talked about those PDFs that you can put on the registration for tax purposes, any number of other things. If you have everything else in hand and they've supplied you with that, you'd check this box. It's likely you don't want to actually confirm them until you have all that paperwork. So maybe just at this point, maybe you cancel it and come back if you don't have all their forms. But at any rate, you can move forward without checking that box, and you'd be able to report on that later and know who you have to chase down once the day comes. Go ahead, Josh.
I just want to mention, you don't have to confirm the driver for them to know that or for them to be good. The has all forms saying there are some instances where you might not confirm them until you have all their forms. That's one thing we used to say all the time. There are some instances where you just won't confirm them until you make sure everything is good. That's not going to eliminate them from coming to your first event. Don't think of it that way, unless it's event-specific registration. But here's one thing that's really nice about the confirmation of registrations is it sends the driver an email automatically saying, hey, Josh, you're number 16V in the WISSOTA Late Model Division at I-94 Speedway. Congratulations. And then it also tells them gives them a link to either A, update their profile on MyRacePass, or B, claim their profile on MyRacePass. So it's another nice way to do. When you confirm the registration, they will get a confirmation email saying they're good. This is their car number. The car number thing's important. Obviously, I do that early on because sometimes they're waiting to get their car wrapped, with vinyl, or get their number right, or whatever the case may be. If they know they need to be an X or a J or an H or something like that, then at least they can get their wrap taken care of. But they'll get an email once you hit confirm here. Like if Ross had a confirm button here, he would get an email immediately saying, hey, you're confirmed, you're ready to rock, life is good.
Yeah, so that's the has all forms. Does that show up elsewhere? There's different exports and things, Shelly, that's going to show up on. If you were to export the current filter, you could get a spreadsheet of all your registrations to see who has all forms, who does not. There's also a filter down here to show just those that do have forms or those that do not. There's a variety of different filters down the left-hand side. Once, these start filling up by class again, so we're under the 410s. Once you start seeing a bunch of these coming in here, it might be easier just to show those that they have paid, they are not confirmed, and they do have all forms. So those will be the ones that you need to take some action on, that you need to get them confirmed. So with that, once we came in here at first, the row was yellow. We can see that we've taken the action. They've been confirmed. It's very important. Like you can see, there's no way to undo that. So you've confirmed them. He's got the email. There's no way to unconfirm them at this point. So it's very important that before you confirm them, that that you actually, you've confirmed that the money's in your PayPal account. You have what you need to basically say, yes, I'm going to confirm this, and that's the final action that you're going to take on that registration. Okay, why is it on the driver's registration? The has all forms is tied to the driver's registration. That's just sort of I guess the place where we determined that when they register for, whether it be this event or the year, that's where we have decided that you've got the paperwork that you need. So we tie that to the registration for that reason. Is there a place to mark all forms without the driver registration? Again, that's tied to the registration itself. So you don't actually, if it'd be a lot more work this way, but you can actually manually add a registration. So if you didn't want to put a registration out there for them to complete, you can always go in here and add an actual registration where you fill out the driver, the address, the phone, all that information, and then you can mark that you do have all their forms. Yeah, so this is available if you choose to use it. Certainly you don't have to use it, but that's a quick rundown of what is available there. Again, just up across the top here, if you need to jump to a different registration or a different class, you can show all classes as well. Go ahead, Josh.
The biggest thing about registration is I've tried to read my own handwriting, and I've never been able to do that. Ross, fortunately, has been able to read my handwriting over the years, and that's been a good thing. With having online registration, one thing that it does do, and Ross can show you, I don't know if your favorite track has this or not, but we do have the ability to print address labels and be able to get the addresses exported out of everything. Mailing labels that Ross can show right here. And but that's the nice thing about registration. So there are reasons why you want to you don't have to charge money for registration. So like if any of the scores that are on here right now, remember year 2 with WISSOTA using MyRacePass, we suggested that if the driver changed their address or changed classes, to register again. If they didn't, they don't have to register. The main goal for registration is to populate your database with your driver's information. That also is going to include team owner information. So like say Ross is my car owner and I'm driving for Ross, and the checks go to Ross. Throughout the registration process, that tells the system that. And then when you confirm it, it just makes it that much easier on race night. So the main reason why it's there, you don't have to use it. We have plenty of racetracks that don't use registration at all. But the number one reason to do it is you want to be able to communicate with your drivers. You want to be able to there's some racetracks out there that send them birthday cards. The registration export, if you go under export current filter, that gives you you don't have to do that, but it gives you an Excel spreadsheet with all these different columns their t-shirt size, their birth date, all that stuff. And so that's one of the big reasons why you would use online registration. What if drivers registered for 3 classes? They'd have to register for each 3 classes, but they can do that in one transaction. Transaction doesn't necessarily mean cash. So Scott, your question there, they can select the classes that they're registering for and then go through the next step on the front side of registration. And then they'd show up 3 times. So right now you can see Ross is under the 410 Sprints Wing class. You would go to a different class and you would see that Ross Van Acker, Josh Holt, or whatever, driver A, driver B is in there again, and you would confirm them for all 3 classes. So the bottom line for registration, just to make things easier for you, I know Callie can confirm this. When we first launched on the registration for WISSOTA, I want to say it was about 30 to 40% of drivers did it online, and
Yep.
and Callie had to take all them pieces of paper, and we're talking about more than 100 drivers here. We had to take all them pieces of paper and put them into the system. Well, then one little trick that Callie did, and a lot of racetracks do this, is they'll actually charge money at the gate for registration, or they'll make it, say for example, it's $20 a year. If you do it online, it's only $10 a year. So a lot of racetracks will penalize the drivers for doing it via paper, because I don't like typing stuff trying to read someone else's handwriting. So give the drivers a break to do it online, so you get their information if you are having a registration where you actually charge money. But now we're at close to 95%, aren't we, Callie, for drivers doing it online?
We're at 95 or more, actually. It's amazing how many manual licenses we don't have anymore.
And that just saves a ton of time.
Yeah, for sure.
But
I was just going to say, don't make your life harder. This is, by putting this out there, the driver has to do one of them. And certainly you don't want to do 30.
I do have drivers that are contacting me now asking if tracks have their registration open because they want to give them an address change, or they want to make sure, somebody called me the other day and wants to make sure that their son is now on his own, dad doesn't own the car anymore. So as much as you don't think they use it, there are guys out there that want to use it. It's easy to set up. Go ahead and set it up, put the link on your Facebook or something.
Absolutely. I think that's probably got to keep moving here. So I think that's really all on the registration side of things that I have. Again, great.
You are correct, Cassie.
All right, so that's we talked about events, we talked about registration. The next thing I just want to touch on real quick is editing your profile. So on this left-hand sidebar here, your profile icon, since we have one, shows up. If you don't have an icon there, that's going to be your profile image. So this is just a little square image that you'd upload there. There's templates available if you want to send it to somebody that does your posters, your artwork, anything like that. You can send them the template for it. But it's a pretty simple little square for that one that you would upload. The header image, just a more wide format image to just kind of brand your profile across the app. Anywhere that your profile is shown, we would show that header image as well. So just kind of a slick little way for you to, I guess, promote your facility. So we can help with those as well. So if you have any questions on that, certainly let us know. And lastly, then down here, this edit profile. This is where you fill in a lot of the details about your racetrack. So whether it be the length, the shape, the banking, just a variety of different details that you can fill out here. This all shows up in the app, so it's super cool for you to be able to put this out there. Race fans, browsing through the app will see this. Put a description in there, keep it short, obviously. Just anything that you think they might want to know, address information, GPS coordinates. This is important. Make sure that you have the proper pin placed in the center of your racetrack. This is what allows them to get their fantasy bonus. So placing that right in the middle of your racetrack is important. And then you can also include directions to the racetrack. And then below we have a whole other list of things that, whether it be if you have a credit card machine available, is there a kids play area, concessions, different things like that. So it's kind of like just a I don't know, a real quick index of what you got going on at your facility, so people don't have to call in or email in wondering, do you do this? Do you allow coolers? Anything like that. It'll take you. This is something you probably only have. You don't have to fill it out once a year unless something changes. So just take 5 minutes, go through, fill this out. Great way to just relay this information to your fans. So that's the edit profile page. Again, that's under this icon on the left under profile. Go ahead, Josh. Oh, I think you're muted.
Sorry. Scroll to the bottom of that page.
Yep.
I'm not for sure if admins have the option to look at this alias thing. Do they, Ross?
I didn't think so, but
Okay, so Ross is obviously a super admin because he built this thing, but aliases are something that's important. So, like, say for example, if you change your track name from one year to the next, or if you have a sponsor name, we have a racetrack out in California that every year they have a title sponsor change. It's always a different car dealership. So we'll add aliases, and how that alias works is basically if, like, for example, Callie, what's the name of a racetrack that's changed in the last couple of years? The name of the racetrack itself has changed.
Red River Co-op Speedway to Victory Lane Speedway.
There you go. So that's a perfect option or perfect scenario. So we'd want to make sure that Victory Lane Speedway was obviously the main name of the racetrack, but we want to have an alias for Victory Lane for Red River Co-op because there are some people out there that maybe went to a race 3 years ago and it was called Red River Co-op, and they're going to search on MyRacePass, or they're going to search on Google, or they're going to search on the app for Red River Co-op, and they won't know what it is. So we don't always know that information, us as a company, but you got to let us know what's going on there. And if you don't have this alias option on the bottom here, just send us an email and let us know. And another thing too, like if I-94 Speedway is a good example because there's an I-94. We also do that, add an alias for just I-94 with no dash, because it just makes it easier for the fan to type in I-94 on their phone without a dash to be able to find that racetrack. So just think of that. If you want an alias, that's not a big deal. It's easy for us to do, and we'll be glad to do it. Dakota?
They do have access to that alias spot. It just comes through with an approval from our end.
perfect.
Okay. Thank you. See?
Thanks for that.
I knew Dakota was on here for a reason.
I appreciate it. So yeah, that's your profile page. Like I said, just take a few minutes, fill that out, and you really only got to come back here if something changes. So it's pretty short little bio, and super helpful for the race fan. So moving on then, the billing tab. Jump over there. Just wanted to point this out. If you have recently taken over the track or something needs to change with who's paying the bill, just go to this billing tab over here, click on update billing, and that will allow you to insert whether it be new credit card, different email address, or a variety of things there. If there is something that doesn't update and you want to get it updated, again, just shoot us an email at support@myracepass.com and we'll get that changed for you.
Did you set WISSOTA's stuff as one particular date for your billing?
Oh, yeah, that's a good call.
Kelly, yes, and I can't remember the date, but it's either, I think it's, that'd have been a good thing to have picked up. I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, we do, and it should say on their stuff, right? It'll tell them, if they look at that, it'll tell them when it renews.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm going to look
Okay.
at an account real quick. Give me 1 second.
MyRacePass went ahead and set all of our WISSOTA tracks to renew on the same day so that you guys had time to get stuff going and figure stuff out before you had to pay for the next year.
Yeah, so it looks like it's May 20th.
Okay?
And so that gives us time too, because WISSOTA is very, very nice to all the racetracks, and they pay for some of this for every year for you guys. And then MyRacePass also pays for some of it as well. So we go through, what we do is we go through and credit the accounts and make sure they're all ready to go before May 20th. And then on May 20th, they'll hit, depending on whatever credit card's on file and whatever's good. So This is something you want to check real quick. Make sure that the credit card that's on file is correct and it's not a.
Well, and most of you are racing by May 20th. So make absolutely sure that when it's supposed to hit and it's supposed to renew, you or your promoter have gotten in there and put correct bill or correct credit card information. Don't make them guys look for you. Put it in there and make sure they will, again, like you said, credit your account. You get credited for some different things if we're still doing that. T-shirts, being able to do a few things. So if you guys get that done, you should see some credits in there.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But May 20th, I remember that now. May 20th is the date that all the WISSOTA tracks are. And if for some reason you're on here and you're a new track, I know there's a gentleman on here that said they was new, but we'll want to look at that, make sure we're on the same date or whatever. I can always move the renewal date. So, but this is where we update that stuff, and May 20th is the date.
Perfect. So that is the billing info I wanted to pass along. Last thing here before we go to fantasy, this users tab. This is just a place if there's other people besides yourself that need to have access to this. It's real easy just to go in here, click on that users tab. It's also available from this menu. If you get to a place that looks like this, you can click on the members tab and just click on add member. If they already have a MyRacePass account, it's just going to fill that in and it'll say, is that Mike Tester? Yes, that's the guy. We'll link him up. If he did not have an account, it would have fired off an email to Mike and he would, actually he hasn't confirmed his account. So he's getting this invite process. So they'll get an email. I believe they have 48 hours to act on that. But once you've added them, make sure that you switch their role from site member to standard admin. That'll give them the same access that you have. So just wanted to point that out so that you are able to add anybody that, we obviously don't want you sharing your login. So if they need access, go ahead and make them a member here as well, where they can do the things that they'll have to do to help out, whether it be adding events or helping with race management or lineups, whatever the case may be. So go ahead, John.
I just want to stress the importance of not sharing your account. I want everybody to think of their MyRacePass login as the same as their bank account login. There are certain things come tax time that racetracks have to deal with, aka 1099s. There are some fun stuff that we can do with that, but the one thing that we can't control is the fact that a lot of people have shared their accounts. We see it, we know it, but just know that that's important. So if you have other scorers that are using MyRacePass on race night or throughout the week to get the schedule ready or whatever the case may be, just make sure they have their own account. That's why we're taking the time now to show you how to do this. We have that request a lot of times that, hey, I need to add Johnny as an admin. We'll do it for you, yes, but it's a lot easier for you to. It happens a lot of times. It happens on race night at 5 o'clock in the afternoon. You're like, oh crap, I need to add Johnny to the admin. You have the ability to do that, and this is why we give you the ability to do that. So please do not share your accounts. Just get everybody to have their own accounts. It's very, very important long term that everybody has their own account. So that's why we're taking the time right now to show you this. And the other thing that's nice too is if I'm working for Ross and Ross doesn't like me working for him anymore, then he has the ability to go ahead and remove my admin privileges. So just know that this is important. There's especially a really big long-term play on this to make your guys' lives easier, and we need everybody to make sure that everybody's using their own account and only their own account. So if you have questions on this, don't hesitate to let us know.
Yeah, the last thing you'd want to have happen is somebody you've given your account to, they end up changing your password. That's the worst case scenario, obviously, where then you would end up losing access. So, yeah, please do not share your accounts. It's just going to make your life a headache. So add them as an admin, switch this role to standard admin, and they'll be good to go. All right, so we got a couple questions. Can any admin add another admin? Yes. So anybody that has admin access, they can come in here and add a member and move them to an admin. If you come in here, see somebody that's not supposed to be in there, you can just flip them back to a site member. All right.
Up one, Gay had a question also.
Have you made it to the announcer? No, not at this time. We just have the 2 roles still. They're either an admin or they're not at this time.
The reason for that, Gay, and Linda, you asked the question of can any admin in an account, is because we have a lot of people that are sharing accounts still. So that's why one of the big pushes we have for this year is making sure that everybody has their own account. There are some ripple effects if we were to make an announcer account or make a specific account to do specific things that will backfire really bad if we have the multiple level accounts. So that's why we haven't done that yet, and that's why I'm saying this now is so important to where everybody uses their own account, because we're hopefully going to take the next year or 2, hopefully not 3, to make sure everybody's using the specific account, not sharing accounts anymore.
Yep, absolutely. So I think moving on then, unless anybody else has.
Yeah, we've got a couple people that can't stay too much longer, so we'll need to move along, I guess.
So then the last thing I wanted to show you guys, under season management here, just coming back in there, we talked about the events and registrations. There's this fantasy tab down here. So this is a product that we've launched over the last couple of years here. That's really, we're trying to drive that fan engagement. So this, again, it's included with your account, and it happens actually as you're running your race night. It happens automatically. There isn't any real extra work that you need to do unless you want to offer a prize. So to do that, you're going to see when you click on fantasy, you'll come in here and see these leaderboards that are auto-generated. So let's just say, for example, if we go to all classes, this leaderboard in particular, you can give it a title, a subtitle. Maybe it's, John's Garage that's sponsoring this deal, so you could put their name on it. And then you'd come down here, you'd add the prize that you're going to award. That'll show up in the app so they can see all, if I'm able to win this fantasy challenge, maybe I get $100 or a gift certificate, maybe just a free ticket to next week's races. It's just something for your announcers to talk about, something to keep the fans coming back, keeping them interested, giving them, that something to root for, I guess. So if you haven't played fantasy and you're an admin, you'll have access to it. Go ahead and take a look at fantasy racing. It's pretty simple to do. We present with a series of matchups. After the lineups are created, we generate matchups in the app, and they simply go in there and who they think is going to win each of the matchups. Chris, you want to expand on that a little bit?
Yeah, just real quickly. It's not only a great tool for your fans to engage in the action and really root for drivers they may not have known before because they're on their team, they want to win, but a great way to get your sponsors involved as well. Ask them to donate prizes, for maybe anything at all to get involved there. Your fans want to play fantasy racing and have proven that they do play fantasy racing all season long. We have nearly 250,000 race fans in the app on a weekend for racing. So, it's a great way to really get that fan base going and encourage them to play along. And it's a huge hit for the race fans. It really is. It's a game changer, especially for the younger audience these days. Fantasy football, baseball, all that stuff. Now you have fantasy racing at your very own racetrack here.
Yeah, that's what's cool about this. So, like I said, there's little to no effort on your end. This happens automatically. So you may as well use that opportunity to sell a sponsorship against it and then just increase that fan engagement. And yes, Josh.
I know everybody wants to gets out of here, but I do want to mention this with the fantasy thing. The reason why we did this is to give you, the racetracks, the ability for that fan engagement tool. There are many, many, many people that have the ability to play fantasy, and one thing that I've learned when I play it, when we're testing it, is that some racetrack in whatever state that I might not follow on a weekly basis, but I start playing some kind of a fantasy thing, I start to get engaged with it. I see myself doing that. And we've done plenty of fantasy challenges inside to help promote fantasy racing in general. But the nice thing, the cool thing about it is it's included in your account. And you don't really have to do anything. You just got to talk about it. And what we've learned is fans. I mean, there are a certain percentage of fans that really, really love it. What we're trying to do as a company with MyRacePass is bring that outside people into our sport. The people that are fantasy junkies, for example. We want them to take a look at motorsports and say, hey, this is something kind of cool because now I got fantasy thing that I can root for, I can cheer for. That's our whole goal with it. Our whole, and it's trying to give you as the racetrack the option to engage that race fan. That's our number one goal. I do want to mention this real quick. Last year we had a WISSOTA challenge, WISSOTA Fantasy Challenge all season long, and I was at the banquet this last November in St. Cloud, and there was, I think, 3 people that was able to show up. But WISSOTA was able to do, I think they gave away 2 tickets to the banquet, gave away a trophy and a champion's jacket. And there was one particular gentleman I remember that had tears in his eyes when he was able to come across that stage and get his fantasy trophy and his champion's jacket. And that's a memory that fan will never forget. And that fan is a WISSOTA fan for the rest of his life. And that's what's cool about fantasy racing. And announcers are always looking for things to talk about. Chris, who was talking earlier, he announces every Saturday night at Knoxville Raceway, and he knows very well that there's always looking for things to talk about. And the fantasy challenges that you could have at your racetrack is certainly a very good tool for that. So there's something to keep in mind is all.
Absolutely. Scott, just real quick, there's several different plans out there. If you go to products and services under promoters, that's going to lay out what features are under race management here, which features are included, which ones aren't. Certainly, if you wanted to do lineups, live timing, and stuff like that, I would start out on the plus plan. Is what I'd recommend. But it's completely up to you. If you want to move up to Platinum or Partner, there's just some additional features that you can see down here that come with that one. So I don't know if I have anything else. I appreciate everyone's input, good questions, and thank you all for being on here. If you want to join the next one, go to myracepass.com/live-training and see when that is. Shelly, I think Callie said we're not doing a WISSOTA question this year. Is that right?
That's correct. I'm putting you guys on your honor here, and I have written down who's here, and we're doing this year because hopefully you want to learn something, and that's kind of why I'm in it too, just to make sure we're going over things that we should be going over. So no question.
Awesome. So yeah, the next one is March 17th for a WISSOTA specific webinar. There's a variety of other ones out there if you did want to join, but the next WISSOTA one is March 17th. So again, thank you everybody. I certainly appreciate it. Go ahead, Josh.
You're ready to hang up, I know. I want to make sure everybody has enough time to look at the chat window and see if there's anything in there that they might need or look as soon as you hit the end call button that is gone. And then Brenda asked the question, what is the normal time for the end time for webinars? I don't know for sure what the next one's going to be entail. This one's probably a little longer because you have Ross and I on here. So we're gonna talk a little bit longer, but the season.
I'm hoping for an hour.
Yeah, I know an hour is a goal, but I mean, we want to make sure we only have 3 opportunities to get in front of you guys with this all-inclusive group of WISSOTA tracks, and we want to make sure you get all the information you can. And there's just remember, there's a lot of cool stuff you can do with MyRacePass. If you ever got any questions, just please let us know. And but I would hope for an hour for the next one. The next one's just race management involved. So like your night of the races, a lot of you know what's going on there. So I don't expect that to go too much longer than an hour. And you always have the opportunity to reach out to us. Remember, support at myracepass.com. That'll get you some help. And we just want to thank you very much for being involved with MyRacePass. And we want to thank you for being a WISSOTA sanctioned racetrack. And that's all I got. So
one thing, you guys, I also want to thank the big wigs of MyRacePass, Ross, Josh, Chris, and Dakota. Thank you guys very much for all being on. That really says something about WISSOTA and how much you care about WISSOTA for all of you guys to take the time to come on and help us when Austin couldn't be here. I also want to thank everybody. We had like 36 people on tonight at one point. Thank you all very, very much. I feel like this training is important, and we can get it all straightened out so we don't have any issues when we get started. And we'll see you next week.